Welcome to the On Your Mind podcast, where we believe mental illness can be temporary and transformative. Stay tuned for innovative, effective tools from experts in the field of mental health. Hosted by Timothy J. Hayes, psychologist. This podcast aims to change the narrative around mental illness. Move from a place of fear to a place of hope and solutions. Here on Your Mind.
Ksenia J. Merck is an artist, architect, and creative storyteller whose work bridges structure, imagination, and spirit. With over 4 decades leading large-scale airport design programs, she's equally at home shaping physical spaces as she is exploring the emotional and cosmic ones through art. Her latest project, Ghost Flower, is a genre-blending science fiction novel written by her late husband, William F. Merck II, which Ksenia brought to life through her illustrations and posthumous publication. The story and its companion journal reflect her belief in love that transcends time and in humanity's responsibility to future generations. Well, welcome, Ksenia. It's lovely to see you again. Thank you for taking time to talk with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here with you and your audience.
I'm hoping you can start us off by telling us a little bit about how you got into the work you're doing and what drives your passion for it.
Well, it's a very interesting journey. I've been through several things with my mother passing and then my husband passing very close in time, almost not quite a year and a half later. And he had written a third book that he wanted published. And after I took some time to collect myself, I dug into the book and it just really inspired me. He inspired me. And I believe that he's been with me on this journey to heal and also to publish this book. And then from that, I published a companion journal to go with it. And the entire experience has been really a healing journey for me through this grief. And I'm coming out of it in a very positive way with this project and really looking at the next part of my life and my purpose with it. So I think this is to me it's a story to really help people and to motivate people who have gone through grief, because it is very, very difficult and it's different for everyone. And I think there are a lot of preconceived notions and timelines about grief. And this is the first time in my life that I have really just taken the time to do what I needed to do with this. And it's been really the right thing for me.
Excellent. I appreciate your commenting about how people have a preconceived notion of the timeline that's supposed to happen with grief. And
Mhm.
being in the field as long as I've been, I'm aware of how many people took Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's work and decided that was the gospel, despite the fact that she herself said this is just a guess, right? There wasn't any research behind 3 stages, 5 stages, 7 stages. Everybody's got their building on that. And beyond that, people have actually thought in terms of I have to go through them in order. And if
Mhm.
I'm not experiencing them in order, I'm in denial or I'm blocking myself or something. So can you share with us what you're learning about the grieving process and what facilitates it best for you?
Well, at a point right now, and I'm writing a lot about this right now because I feel like right now for me, I'm almost really conducting a mini life review. And I will tell you that with my mother, who passed over at age 102, she lived with us for 14 years. And I think that her decline was very slow, especially from, I want to say from 100 to 102, 102 and a half, that I think I was grieving during that period. I was grieving before she passed over. And that was just, and then then she passed over, and then I went through a series of different, waves of emotions. And then the shocking thing for both, I think, Bill and I, my husband and I, was that he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and the doctor said it was a manageable thing. Okay, well, then January of 2024, it was not manageable. It was not manageable at all. And we were in the ICU, in and out of there for 2.5 months. I stayed there every night with him, either in a chair, a bed, or a cot that I bought, and because it was just so bad. And so there was just a shock. I think that whole experience with Bill in the hospital, we both had PTSD. And so there was a lot of unraveling to do after he passed. And so that was a different than my mother passing. And I really feel that he's been here with me, and this project has really been what has given me a purpose. And I've said to other people that this grief, at different phases, and especially in the beginning, it's like this blanket of fog, just a blanket. And I'm not sure how I was doing all the things I was doing, but then with this project I started to get I got a spark. And I know he planted these seeds for me to take this project, to run with it, and I couldn't have asked for anything better or more to really help me through it. And, so there are different phases. I think that they are different for everyone. Um, and I think, certainly those first holidays for me, major milestones, either my birthday or our anniversary or the first Thanksgiving, the first Christmas. Whoa, those are off the charts hard. Those are off the charts hard. And then there's year 2. And that's different because in year 2, I started to see, and I've just come upon that 2-year anniversary of Bill's passing. Year 2, you're really developing a different pattern of how you live your daily life. And so I'm really looking at that about how I'm going to go forward and what my priorities are, and this project and how I advance things in it. And so this is it's a new chapter in my life right now. And um I'm ready to go do it. So there definitely are different phases. And I think, that initial circumstance of how a person passes, the circumstances around that really make a difference in terms of how someone might deal with it.
And so tell us, if you can, about the Ghost Flower book that he wrote before he passed but didn't publish.
So the Ghost Flower book, it's so interesting that he was in the hospital with prostate prostate cancer, but I believe that he had very bad reaction to this interaction of drugs, and the doctors could not figure out what was going on. And so it was this constant, seeing how he would react, trying to find a different medicine. Well, he had written this Ghost Flower book about a pandemic set in 2035, that this team does some research and stumbles upon this ghost flower that was reported to be have healing properties that helped this small village in England. And so this team in the future, part of the team stays in 2035, part of it goes to 1585, time travels to find and plant clues about this ghost flower that was brought by aliens thousands of years prior to. And so here we were in the hospital, and Bill has something that they cannot find a cure for, and he's written a book about finding or helping to, you know, find a cure and plan a cure and provide a cure for this pandemic in the future. It was just, these synchronicities were so amazing to me. But the book is loaded with certainly the time travel, the aliens, the healing property of the flowers, themes about love, soul connections, action, adventure, because they travel to 1585. They don't know what it's going to be like. They ended up meeting pirates face to face and swindlers and Shakespeare, and so they had all these different kinds of interactions, and so the book is loaded with a lot of things like that. And I the overarching theme is saving humanity in the future. And I really look at Bill as a great humanitarian because that's how he approached a lot of things about how he dealt with things in his life. And so once I got into the book and I was so excited, and the plan all along was that I would paint the cover. So I met with the editor and I started doing all these interesting historical characters, and places too. They travel to Spain, they travel to North America, they go to Cuba, and all of this is on this catamaran named the Twin Flame. And so this story being to save humanity really inspired me, and so there are 50 chapters in the book, and I started doing these little vignette sketches, and then they started getting more complex, and then I started weaving in clues between sketch 1 and sketch 5, and so during that process, I knew that I would be doing a companion journal to go with it. So the journal is actually organized by how I see the sketches working together or fitting together with their clues and their meanings. But then I give inspiration about what inspired me about how to do the sketch. And then I tie that sketch back to where it shows up in the book with philosophical and spiritual questions that are in the chapters. So the companion journal to me is that to me that they really are a set together. And the whole thing is really a gift to me, and I'm excited to share it.
I'll bet. And the idea of his naming the catamaran Twin Flame is startling, right? Because here you are clearly playing out what a lot of us would say would be the role of a twin flame.
Hmm. Yes. He is definitely my twin flame, and if you can see the I call it the twin star on the cover of the journal, that is actually when I was drawing and painting that, that symbolizes one soul and two hearts, and that is Bill and I. That is our symbol. And I am putting that on our grave tablets, and it is just that powerful and that important to me.
Wonderful. And have you always used your art therapeutically?
Well, that's an interesting question. After my mom passed over, that's when I started. I have done art my entire life, but I started doing more painting when my mom passed over, and then this project really had me in the zone of art, and that the time spent doing the art took me to a different place in terms of healing because I was really focused on that. Wasn't focused on anything else. And so that in itself was just healing. And I was, experimenting with different things that I'd always wanted to try, and so that was just it was just healing and therapeutic. And again, I took my own time doing that, and it did take a lot of time, so I had to block time, but that was a really healthy thing for me to do.
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, I most of the people that I've known and work with art and therapy, what they're doing is they're tapping into that processing that we have and that we do that goes beyond words. And for me, it's so
Mm.
similar to when we find somebody who's trained in the somatic or body focused therapies that we're bypassing the literal language centers of the brain, and there's just such deep richness in there for unraveling our stuck points because
Yes.
because we don't have to worry about finding the right word, or it kind of bypasses that what Freud would call the superego, the part of me that's worried about what you think and what society thinks and what's appropriate in terms of some external source, and just express the energies that are there.
Yes, exactly, and I think that, you use the word energy, and that is huge because I think the energy that put into this project is really a result of Bill went after this book. He really went after it and I think really put it all together in a short amount of time, and then we had some deadlines too for the book to publish it, so I went after it. So that book is a result of how he went after it with a huge amount of energy. I went after it from from the art side and from working with the editor to bring it to fruition. And so that book is a combination of his energies and my energies. And so that book is our baby. That book is our baby. And so, but those energies are all really very positive. And so that's for me when I look at that book, I just get positive back from it. And that is huge.
So, is there a way to talk about what you're hoping others will take from this?
Well, yes, I think that what I talked about, the spark that, you know, that I have this project, but other people may have something else that sparks them about, a cause or finishing a project that was meaningful to the person that has passed over or taking up a new cause that celebrates that person or celebrates a new beginning. So I think it's really about in a certain way it's about digging deep and seeing what sparks you and then taking that and developing it and running with it and see where it goes. And but
And
don't put a
letting that spark turn into a flame and then fuel the
yes.
flame.
Yes.
So, with grief as one of the topics you're introducing here, I'm not getting the sense that when your husband was planning the book Ghost Flower and writing it, I'm not getting the sense from what you said that grief is the primary focus of that book.
No.
And yet, I'm getting a real strong sense that your grief work yourself and your use of the project is helping you resolve your grief, and that's part of what you're sharing with others.
Absolutely. Yes, the book itself is not about grief. What I'm writing now based on this experience is about grief, but this project has really helped me to to go on. So but there are many themes in the book that are also very positive. So it really is two things. The project itself has helped me in this grief journey, but the project has merit on its own with all the various themes about saving humanity and questions like would you do time travel and where do we come from are all in that book. And Bill had actually written two books before this, one on leadership and one on breadcrumbs finding a philosophy of life. And he wove those points and a lot of those themes into the storyline of this book with the characters. And so I because I know those other two books so well, I can see that in this book and how powerful it is.
So while his book, Ghost Flower, isn't specifically focused on grief, your workbook isn't either, but can be used for the grief processing, or can be
Well,
used for developing any other kind of project, catching that spark and following it.
I think the companion journal can has a lot of spiritual and philosophical questions that can really inspire people. And so, who knows what's gonna come out of that? There are a lot of really important questions in that journal that are woven into that book. So, it's really it starts to begin some soul searching, I think, is where you can take that companion journal.
Excellent. Excellent. And that, of course, is useful for any of us, whether we're in the middle of a deep grief process or not.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, if you would get centered and think about what we've talked about so far in relating to the book and the companion journal, and clear your mind and think, is there something we want to go back and highlight, or is there another aspect altogether of either of those two books that you want to bring up?
Well, all of this has inspired me to write about this experience and this story. And my grief journey is, I think, different than maybe some others. But I am writing about it and conducting this mini life review. And I find that all to be a very positive thing because I think I'm starting to understand myself a whole lot better. And that is huge. That is huge. And it's only because of going through this project, those philosophical questions, and that I have a purpose now that's different than it was several years ago.
Which is, right in line with just being awake and alive in life, because life will bring you things that if you can't adjust to them, then, you bump your
Mhm.
head against that brick wall.
Mhm.
One of the things I was thinking about is that there's an author whose name will probably come to me, who's written about, the 6th stage of grief. If Elizabeth Kubler-Ross has 5 stages of death and dying, and people have translated that into grief, etcetera. He talks about another one, and his step has to do with creating meaning from whatever has transpired that you're generating grief from,
Mhm.
and it seems like that's exactly what you've done.
Absolutely. And I'm a different person than I was several years ago. And I think I'm getting back to maybe what is my core person. And so to have these revelations and purpose is really powerful.
That author's name is David Kessler, and the book that he wrote is Finding Meaning. And when you have meaning, unless you don't want to, you've also got a purpose going on there, right? You can
Mhm.
generate what you're going to use your talents and abilities for to help you create something out of your
Mhm.
purpose, and now you've got
Mhm.
meaning in your life.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, where would you like this to go? So we have both the Ghost Flower book and the companion workbook.
Mhm.
What do you see coming? What was your dream for how this will unfold?
Well, I think that several things. I really think that this book has the makings of a movie. I think it's got all of the components to keep people interested and engaged and entertained in this book, but also those philosophical questions. So I think this project has real merit in progressing as Ghost Flower. And then for me to continue with this, I'm writing a book now, and I'm not sure if this will be one or more books because I'm writing on just a whole series of topics, and then I'm going to see where it goes. Because, like I said earlier, I'm really on this mini life review, and a lot of things are revealing to me that I'm starting to understand. And, so there are other projects in Merck 2 Press that we're pursuing too with a workbook for the leader book, the first book that Bill wrote. So there are more things going to be coming from our company, Merck 2 Press.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share this with us, and congratulations on both of these and your willingness to use them for your own healing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you and your time. Thank you.
Ksenia J. Merck is an artist, architect, and creative storyteller whose work bridges structure, imagination, and spirit. With over 4 decades leading large scale airport design programs, She's equally at home shaping physical spaces as she is exploring the emotional and cosmic ones through art. Her latest project, Ghost Flower, is a genre-blending science fiction novel written by her late husband, William F. Merck II, which Ksenia brought to life through her illustrations and posthumous publication. The story and its companion journal reflect her belief in love that transcends time and in humanity's responsibility to future generations.
You've been listening to the On Your Mind podcast, offered by Journey's Dream, where we support people through mental health challenges to a place of true and lasting well-being. If you love our show, we invite you to visit onyourmindpodcast.org to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our helpful resources. Thank you for listening.